This car is the most honest car you ever see.
It's been a dream ever since I've had it.
The first time I heard that engine screaming, I thought, I gotta have one of those.
For me, the cars have personality.
What's great about a BMW Classic is the community that surrounds it.
When you listen to that, that's why we're here.
Welcome to Classic Heart, the BMW Group Classic podcast. This is JP, and my guest today made me a very difficult way to pronounce his Instagram handle, but we come to that later. So Max Chester is with us, and you know him better from TikTok and Instagram with Pooful Talks Cars, if that's correct?
Pooful Talks Cars, yep.
Yeah. It's an amazing Instagram handle.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you so much for having me on, JP. I appreciate it.
Of course. I mean, that's absolutely fantastic because I always try to be connected also to the next generation of creators. So I think also our listeners are very interested in to understand a bit what your content creators are doing actually and why. And I think you and many of your colleagues, you do fantastic stuff. But Max, how did you came up with the name for the Instagram handle or TikTok handle?
I think when I was 14, I saw the name. And then at those times, you could get a lot of different usernames and everything. So I saw it. It was 4 letters. I thought it was really cute. It's 1 syllable. It doesn't mean anything. There's no deeper significance to it. But I was just like, that looks really cool. Why not? So PWUF or PUF. And then when I started to make some TikTok content last year, around 2023 January, I told my friend, I was like, no matter what, I'm going to have 100,000 followers by the end of the year. And I have no idea what I was going to do. I have no idea what content I was going to do, but I just knew that I wanted 100,000 followers by the end of the year. So I just started making videos on a TikTok page with that username, and the videos ended up doing well. And then I just made a car page. I was like, what else can I call it? Pooful Talks Cars. And that's pretty much it. That's how the name came to be.
And I agree. It sounds very nice. Pooful Talks Cars. It's a very lovely thing. It makes you really like taking all the super seriousness engineering out of the topic and make it very joyful and relaxed. And I think that's also one of your USPs, I would like to say so, because you're always doing entertaining stuff. But Max, you said you had just the idea of becoming a kind of Instagram sensation by getting some followership, and then cars was just also part of it, and now your focus is on cars, isn't it?
Ever since I was a kid, I've always loved cars. It was always the biggest thing in my life. It was the only thing I really knew that much about. And at the start, when I first started making just the personal videos, I was like, it doesn't, interest me that much. And I was like, oh, well, let's make a car video, see how it does. And then it ended up doing better than I expected. And I've just made what I've always enjoyed as a kid into something that I do now full time.
And you mentioned it, so it's a full-time job, right? It's
a full-time job, yep.
Because it consists of lots of traveling from A to B, finding cool cars and partners and all these kind of things. And I think this is the right platform to also clarify for those generation who is far older than I am or my generation, which they have the tendency to say, just a content creator, just an influencer. And I think it's very important to state out that this is a job. It's if you do it right, it's well paid, but it's a lot of work, isn't it?
It's a lot of work. I mean, I was still in uni. I started this around March, April of last year, and I only finished classes in December of 2023. Yeah. So the whole time from March to December, excluding the summer holiday, I was in classes, but I still had my little target to reach of reaching 100,000 followers by the end of the year. So I was still very much involved in school. I had a part-time job to sustain myself, and I was also doing this on the side. And at that time, there was no money behind it. It was just me being like, oh, hey, let me just make videos. It's going well. I don't want to give it up. So let's just see what happens.
Wow. I mean, it shows exactly. It's a career. And I mean, speaking about 100,000 followers, I mean, you will kick the 900,000 on TikTok soon. Instagram will follow. Yeah. So I think you've done something right.
Yes, that's right. Well, yeah, I think so. I think I should hit it today.
Yeah. How do you
Or
how do you
tomorrow.
how do you deal with that? That 900,000 people are interested in what Max is talking about cars.
Well, it's very interesting. I mean, often when I see people outside, they're always like, I love your content. It's very interesting. And one thing that they've always mentioned was they like how the videos are always the same. So sometimes I'm like, is that a good thing? But sometimes I think people just like comforts. They like knowing what they're going to get with every video. They know that I will have the same outro, that I'll have I say different things at the start of every video, but it's in the same tone. It's a variation, like don't buy this instead, or why buy this when you can buy this, or why this is the car that you never knew existed. So it's always something that piques the interest of the viewer, I think. And that was always the way that I thought how the content was going to go, but it also took a while to get to that point, maybe 3, 4, 5 months, to be like, okay, I guess this is the format that I'm going to do. I honk. I do 2 or 3 honks with every car that I drive into. And one time I didn't honk. I did a Spiker C8 La Violette, which was a crazy, crazy car, and I didn't honk.
Ooh.
And everyone was like, where's the honk? But every single car is different, so it's always interesting talking about different things from the different cars.
You said that the interest of cars was always with you. So what do you think? Where did it start? What was the initial thing?
I think what really, really kicked it off, I liked cars before this, but I think what really kicked it off was when I was 8. And my mom got me an Xbox 360 for my 8th birthday. And the very, very first game, the game that came with the Xbox was Burnout Paradise. Which was this really fun game with really good crash graphics, seeing everything crumble and everything. And I was obsessed with that game. And then I moved on to Forza Motorsport. And then you had Forza Horizon, but it was also GTA 4. I love driving the cars in GTA 4. Then I went to GTA 5. So I think games was a large part of that. No one in my family was that into cars. Even before the Xbox, I always got a lot of toy cars, and I was always drawing cars. And one of the ways that I remembered people from a very, very young age was from their cars. I forgot how they look like, I forgot their names, but I always knew exactly what car they drove. Even when I was 5, 6 years old, I know what car that was. I knew the brand, I knew everything about the car. And I think that's just how I grew to start liking cars very much.
I love that because it's also what started with me was posters and magazines, and then it was of course Top Gear and TV, especially when I was at school, and then of course Need for Speed, the first Need of Speed. I mean, I played it on a PC in a very, very, very junky graphics, I would say, but still, I think these games are amazing. And if you look at how they are also influential on the car side, I mean, car manufacturers building cars for the games, right? So, and I really like that step. Max, do you have a preference in cars? Your variation is very high, from a modern electric to BMW Z8, but then I saw this pre-war cars. So is there anything that you like in particular?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because I grew up in China. I didn't grow up around Top Gear. I didn't grow up around magazines or any of these things because I just didn't have access to that, because China didn't have YouTube and you had to get VPN, and I didn't have BBC or anything. So the only Top Gear stuff I can watch was 3, 4, 5 minutes, a short clip on YouTube that someone cut up. Of the EP50 of Jeremy Clarkson pushing the EP50, or see some of the special episodes where they go somewhere, but those were 8, 10 minutes max. And when I moved to London, I was more into classics. I saw so many classics, and it was Mercedes E500s. It was older BMWs. It was the E30s. It was modern classics. Then I started watching a lot more movies, and then the cars in the movies, they were always really cool. Like one of my favorite cars, a Jeep Grand Wagoneer. They have it in Jurassic Park. I get so happy when I see that car. But I really feature the cars that just appeal to me. And when you talk about the pre-war stuff, they just fascinate me so much. There's so many fun and interesting things to talk about, the way they turn them on. Because a lot of them back then, they were all coach builds. So it was like every single car was different. It was all down to exactly what the owner wanted. If the owner wanted this, a mirror for his wife, or they wanted a vase to put their flowers in, everything was just so individual and so independent that fit exactly with the owner. And that is something that fascinates me so much.
Yeah.
Obviously, they did that for a reason, because the owner had a story that they wanted to tell, that they wanted to put in the car. And hence why the pre-war stuff now is really, really piquing my interest, because again, they're just so different and so fascinating.
I completely agree. I really love pre-war stuff. And for those who would like to have a little journey into BMW's history, please, if you happen to be in Munich, stop by at the museum. There are so many fantastic cars pre-war built by BMW. And one of my favorite is, and technically speaking it is a pre-war car, is the 328, because the styling of that car was so modern if you compare it to other cars of that period. So I really, really adore this car. And I think, go to the museum, book a guided tour, and dive into the deep history of BMW. So, Max, back to us. Besides pre-war cars, you also feature modern supercars or modern classics. And you are very enthusiastic about an absolutely wide range of cars and styles. I would like to pick one out there, because that's a video that stuck to my mind, is the BMW Z8. Normally, people associate horsepower, all the mechanical engineering details. You went a different way because you are interested in something else. What was so interesting for you at the Z8?
Well, one of the things about the Z8 was that it had neon lights used on their turn indicators. And I think, and the brake lights as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the brake lights. And at that point, they didn't have LED lights. You could only get xenons and halogens. So there was like, oh, well, let's try neon, because the blinking was going to be a lot quicker than halogens. And I think it was just one of these reasons that I was like, it looks so cool. I think there was the BMW Z8 and there was this Lincoln in the late 90s that also had neon lights as well. But just the neon lights made something so distinctive. It was blinking really quick. And they also offered, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but they also offered all BMW Z8 owners like a 50-year parts warranty. So if, something did go wrong with the lights or something, it would be covered. And we still have a few decades left of that. Yeah. So I think we will be fine with the BMW parts warranty.
Yeah. What I love, Max, is that you go for these details and it get never bored, because what will Max find out next time about this car and so on? So how do you find all these things?
It's sometimes when I'm filming the car, I just discover it when I'm there. And there's all these little weird and such interesting details that I love to share so much.
Yeah.
And the neon lights is one of them. Not that many people know about it. And something that puts the biggest smile on my face is when they say, oh, like I learned something new today, or I didn't know about this until I watched this video. And, now they can tell other people about a fact that they learned from one of my videos.
This is why I follow you, and I like the content, because there are many things I've never heard of, and I really like it.
Thank you.
Speaking about your car, you just broke the news that you have decided to go for a BMW, not a modern one. And so what BMW did you choose?
It was my first car. I've never bought a car before, so it was my first car. It was a E38 BMW 740i from 2000. So it was a facelifted model.
Yeah.
In Avis Blue Metallic. It was an individual paint. It's got the M parallel wheels. It's got the individual interior. So that was the first car that I ever bought.
Would you do impromptu present the car in a way you would present that car in a video? And you did that video before, I think. So all who tuned in, it's now coming Max with a Puf Talk Cars style introduction of his own very first car. Max, please.
Why buy a W220 Mercedes S-Class when you can buy E38 BMW 7 Series instead? It was, of course, using James Bond. Oh, that's the James Bond car. As opposed to a Mercedes W220. Great car, but it wasn't using James Bond, so it doesn't have the same level of fandom.
Yeah.
And the way you look at it, I mean, when you look at a W220, that was when everything started to fall apart. Even though I like the styling of it, everyone always says that's when Mercedes went down to use cheaper materials, whereas I feel that my BMW still had great build integrity, and it was not a Chris Bangle designed car just yet. It wasn't an E65, so we're gonna leave it like that.
I mean, it's really true, and I told the story before because I was born in Hamburg, northern Germany, and parts of the James Bond they shoot in Hamburg city center in a parking garage, and I saw this car flying in real off the roof of that parking garage because they made it with a crane, and it swung around, and it was amazing. And of course, Pierce Brosnan being one of the coolest James Bonds in my opinion. We spoke about the fandom, but what was the reason why you choose the E38 model for yourself? Or is it specifically the color?
Me personally, I had some influences from friends. My friend has one. And when I sat in that car, I was like, wow, this is really nice. It's boxy, it's big, it's very comfortable. It gives a certain level of prominence. It's quite stately. And there was just something that I really, really loved about that fact. And everything was just so well built. There's no squeaks. Everything you grab and you feel everything, and everything's just so rigid. And that was one feeling that I really enjoyed, hence why I chose to buy that car as my first car.
And it looks really amazing. The Avus Blue, named after the famous racetrack near Berlin, is an absolutely stunning car. And what I also like is this the first steps in having like LCD displays in cars.
That's right.
But I like everything on this car. I like the seat design, the layout of the car. So the 7 Series of that period is a very, very cool thing. And I'm so happy that you find a proper one because the color is amazing. It really works on the car.
Yeah, I didn't even know it was an individual color until I went to see the car for the first time, open up the bonnet, and I'm like, oh, it's an individual color. How cool. And that the blue piping on the seats and the blue carpets, everything was matching. And I'm like, wow, this really is a very special find that I will keep for a very long time.
And of course, these are the cars with the MC cassettes, right? Did you have some in the car?
I did not have any cassettes, but I did go to a store with my friends and we bought about 15 cassette tapes because I've got a 6 cassette holder so I can just slot them in. And then the rest they're in a box. Of course. I bought ABBA, Diana Ross,
all the good
Waves, Wham. Who else did I buy? But Wham, Kenny G.
Fantastic. So do you have any road trips planned with that car?
I would really like to go to the Netherlands to see my family. They haven't seen the car. I want to show my grandma the car. So I just need to find the time to maybe either in October or November or during Christmas or New Year's, I might do it. But that is something that I really want to do. And I also recently I went to Brazil and I'm like, wouldn't it be so crazy if I shipped the car to Brazil and enjoyed the car in Brazil? There were no older BMWs. I saw no older Mercedes-Benzes. And I'm like, oh, this would be really interesting. I think it would have been really fun.
I think it would make, first of all, big fun. Second of all, great content.
Yes, I think so too.
I said that there. I remember also when I was last time there, I do not remember to see. I think you see old Volkswagens a little bit, but that's actually it. I think that would be really cool. Do you think you can build up an emotional relation to something like a car?
Yes, and I was going to mention, since you just mentioned a road trip, this month, I went to Wales to look for the original owner of my car.
Really?
Who spec'd the car over 24 years ago, and I found him.
Mega.
So I show up to his house, and then I ring the doorbell. An old lady comes, and then she's calling her husband, and then we're talking about the car, and he's walking around the car. He sits inside the car, and it was a really wholesome moment.
Wow.
I've not announced it yet. I've not made the video, but I filmed everything. The video just needs to go public.
Yeah, cannot wait to see that coming live. But so you will say, yes, it's people make cars, as we sometimes say, and so you can build emotional relationship to that car. I think he must be very happy to see that car again.
He was, especially for him to sit inside that car as well, was very special.
Yeah. Do you believe in giving names to things like cars?
You know, people have asked me that.
Yes.
My friend was like, oh, you should call her Sabine.
Okay.
It sounds very German.
Yes.
It's a very, very difficult thing to give. It's like naming your child. I mean, I don't have any children, but I would assume naming your child is a very difficult process as well.
Yeah.
Because it's something that they will have for the rest of their lives. So I don't want to go into it too loosely. I still need to think about it a bit more.
May I give a little suggestion?
Let's hear your suggestion.
I would go for the name Beatrix. You know why? Because it's your Dutch
Ooh.
roots. It's a German name as well. It has this royalty that car deserves. And I think Beatrix, in honor of the former Queen of the Netherlands, and also with your international background and multicultural background, I think Beatrix could be a nice name because it bridges both worlds.
And I think blue or purple, they're very royal colors.
Absolutely.
And I do think that is a very, very good name. It sounds slightly older. It has a sense of, it's quite prominent. It's quite commanding. I like that name. Thank you, JP. I like it. I like it.
And I think Beatrix sounds like a 24-year-old car, in a sense, which has also the German roots of being a BMW.
Absolutely.
So, because then the nickname would be Trixie.
Ooh, wow. You really have thought about this.
I really thought it
like
through, yes.
Trixie. I like it. I like it.
And
I like
think
it.
Trixie
I like
would
both
work
of them.
on Puf Talks cars very well.
Yes.
Hey, this is Trixie, honking twice.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. It's got a good horn too. Before I bought it, I was like, oh, I want an even louder horn because I like a nice older horn or something just a little louder, a little bit more assertive. I like the horn, but I will consider a new horn maybe. I'll think about it.
I have to say, I really like it that someone like you choose a young classic BMW. I think that shows also that BMW has a nice image throughout their car line. But tell me one thing. Sometimes I see a small plastic hand in your videos. What's all about that little plastic hand? Which scares me a little bit, I have to say. Here we go. Waving at me.
It's on video, yes. When I first started incorporating, everyone was like, what is this plastic hand? And then I saw that it was making people talk. Now when I make a video, when I don't have the hand, everyone's like, where's the hand? But when the hand is in the video, they're like, we don't want the hand. So I'm like, what do you guys want? I don't know what you want. So I keep the hand in. And I feel like that sometimes that's just another thing for people to associate with you with. They're like, oh, he's the guy with the plastic hand.
Yeah.
And I can also point at things that I want to show more specifically.
Yeah.
So it draws people's attention to what I really want to get across sometimes. Like Shmi has his stuff, other creators have their stuff.
Sure.
I would say I have my hand. So everyone has their little unique things.
Your signature. And when you told your mom at home, you know what, I've studied very successfully and now I'm going to be short videos about cars. What was the reaction?
She always knew that I liked cars. So I think she was very encouraging of it. I don't think she thought that it could have come to the point that it was. I didn't think so too. But now it has. I mean, no one's complaining. I'm actually happy to review another car. I'm actually happy. I'm so excited to get the next video up. I'm so excited to see the comments. I'm so excited to go on trips and meeting people and going to events. So the whole family's happy. So
My parents were the same. I mean, it was totally clear that I was too lazy and maybe also not smart enough to visit the university. So that made really clear to them. And of course, it was a bit coming from a family of dentists and business people. They all studied. But I was very happy that I had the father and the mother who was really like, you know what? We're always supporting you, whatever you do, as long as you're sharing this with us. I think that was very important to them.
again, I told you earlier, I didn't plan. I wasn't going to be like, oh, like I want to be a car content creator.
Yeah.
Some things just happened when you don't expect it. And I just went with it, and that's how it was.
But still, I think we have to point out that once you made the decision to go somewhere, go for it. But be aware, it is hard work. Working in media is a hard job.
Especially now when, I would say within the last 2 to 3 years, it's become even harder because now everyone is doing videos. You would go around London and you would have a car and there would be maybe 20, 30 people all filming the exact same car. And at the end of the day, it really just comes down to who's got more followers.
That brings to the question, how do you find the cars? So how that does work, that people reach out to you or you do some research?
Sometimes I just go on Instagram, I look at what cars are on there, or if there's a car that I really, really want, I would go on Auto Trader, I would look for whatever cars there are. The dealership is a phone number, I call the dealership, hey, I want to make a video on the car, this is what I do. But also at the start, mainly, it was me going to events, it was me filming the cars at the events. You don't need to ask anyone. You just film the car is there, you know? And my 4th ever video was a car that I filmed at the event and it got 2 million views. And that's what kind of put a certain foundation on my TikTok page. That's one of the reasons. And that was a Jaguar E-Type that I saw last year, Salon Privé in April, I think, at the Chelsea Hospital.
Yeah.
That's literally just what it was, you know? So, and then when I cannot get those cars, I started Street Finds, which is me trying to get over my fear of filming in public. And the videos were all under a minute long. So I would just pump out as many facts as I can, make a video about it. And people really loved the fact that I was going out, trying to get over my fear of speaking in public. But that also just gave me a consistent stream of cars.
Yeah.
It's literally just cars parked on a street. I don't need to ask anyone. I don't need to call anyone. And then things just progress. People was like, oh, well, I've got this car. One time I did a Bugatti Chiron Super Sports. And that was just, I think maybe I had like 10 or 15,000 followers on Instagram. Like, not that much. And I just DM'd the owner. I was like, hey, can I shoot this car? And he's like, sure, meet me tomorrow. So I skipped my class and I went to shoot the Bugatti. And as I was shooting the Bugatti and the Muse, Christoph from Fiskins comes out and he's like, oh, hey, well, like if you ever want to shoot one of our cars, you can. And they had an Aston Martin Valkyrie.
Yeah.
So sometimes at the end of the day, it just comes down to really nice people that are willing and kind enough to give you cars. I always say, you never know unless you ask.
That's right. And I think that's the way to move forward because the only bad thing you can get is a no. But I would like to say some things about Christoph, who is working for the dealership Gregor Fiskin in the UK. He is such a nice and humble man. So I totally understand that he saw a nice opportunity speaking to you and what a cool offer. And I mean, the result speaks for itself. And the place, I think we have to mention this as well, because this place is also very dear to my heart because I spent quite a lot of time there when I was young. And it's the location of the dealership of Gregor Fiskin, which is the Queensgate Place Muse in London. And with Gregor being a neighbor, you have always great cars starting up, especially on Saturday and Sundays when the big engine Bentley is blowing off to start for a trip through London or a test drive. So that was always amazing. And for me, kind of the first time I see this kind of machine. So this is a very special place.
It is.
Max, we have a challenge for you because now it's time for our pit stop. That means we will ask you a series of very short questions, this or that. And I encourage you to just spit out what comes first to mind and don't think too much.
Okay.
And I think for you, we have a special rule that you can skip one. I will introduce this rule now. You're the first one to have this pleasure to skip one. So, Max, are you ready for the classic hard pit stop?
Yes.
Good. Coupe or limousine?
Limousine.
Limousine or station wagon?
Station wagon.
I knew it. Mint condition or enthusiastically driven?
That's hard. That's so hard. You can have both.
If both is not, as I said, you can skip. I give you the, as you said.
I'll skip this one.
Okay.
I will skip this one.
Okay, we will come back to that while you skip that one, okay? Driving alone or driving with passengers?
Alone. Always.
Driving or being driven?
Driving.
Always.
Always.
Car sharing or no car?
Car sharing.
Road trip or racetrack?
Road trip.
Highway or country road?
Country road.
Stick shift or pedals?
That's hard. It depends on the car.
Stick shift or pedals? Come on, Max, you can do that.
Stick shift.
Petrol or diesel?
Petrol.
Diesel or electric?
Depends on the car.
Diesel or electric?
Electric.
Electric or no car? Electric or
Electric.
no car?
Electric.
Engine in the
You
front?
can get an
or-
electric pagoda, or an electric Taycan. So
Yeah,
some stuff is good.
of course. No, I mean, absolutely. But let's focus, please. Engine in the front or in the back?
Front.
Engine in the front or in the middle?
Front.
Left-hand drive or right-hand drive?
Left-hand drive.
Right-hand drive or center drive?
Center drive.
Sell or keep?
Keep.
Buy at auction or at a dealer?
Dealer.
Radio on or off while driving?
On.
Instagram or TikTok?
Instagram.
Good. Thank you very much. That's it. Very well done. Let's speak
You
about
had some hard questions in there.
Of course. Who said it would be easy? But let's come to question 3 that you skipped. Mint condition or enthusiastically driven was the question. Why is that so hard to decide?
Because I think my 7 Series is in a beautiful condition, but I also think that I can enthusiastically drive it. And there are some beautiful, enthusiastically driven cars that are in mint condition. Hence why I think you can have both. There are beautiful cars,
Yes.
washed very frequently with no patina, but they're still thrashed around. There might be a controversy, but me, with my cars, I want the cars to look new. I have done a lot to make my BMW look as new as possible. I got new plastic mold bumpers that don't have scratches on them. I got new BMW badges because the old ones, they were scratchy. And I just want my car to look as new as it did 24 years ago. And I still drive it very, very on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So that's how I see it.
I think this kind of approach combines the best of both worlds. That's,
Yes,
I think
and
that's for sure.
the other stuff that I also want to touch upon was electric or diesel, because I don't think diesel sound that good. But I would rather have no sound than a diesel sound, and I would also rather have smoothness than a really clickety-clackety diesel. But sometimes it's really just nice having a nice silent drive with no music. Do you just want to go home and everything is just smooth and quiet? And an electric car is really good at doing that.
True. I like to touch the thing because, funnily, I mean, we need to look that up. But from a feeling here, for question number 4, driving alone or driving with passengers, the majority of people say driving alone. So why do you like to drive alone and enjoy the car on yourself?
I just want to be in my own space. I want to drive the way that I want to drive with my own music. And exactly, I don't want to cater for any passenger. I just, I love driving alone. It puts a big smile on my face. When I have a passenger, they're fiddling around with the AC controls. They're fiddling around with the music. They're like, no, drive faster, drive slower, catch up, overtake this car, get this. I'm just like, no, I'm alone. If I take the wrong exit, I'm not going to have driving with your parents. Yeah. Driving with your parents is something that it's a very difficult task to do. My mom was like, no, you're driving too quick. You're driving too slow. What is this song, Max? Like, what language is this? I don't know what song this is. Mom, no, sorry. We're going to go from A to B. You're not going to say anything. You're going to listen to my songs. I will put you in the back seats. It's a 7 Series. The back seats are very nice. You can sit in the back, but I'm having, yes, driving alone is top tier.
So everyone who tunes in, may we present to you the most grumpy driver we ever had in this series. Luckily, my partner, she's a very good co-driver. Which I'm not. So we have lots of
I'm not.
fights.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
So I don't think I'm a good passenger because some of my friends, they hog the lanes, they hog the fast lane, and I'm like, move into the slow lane if you're not overtaking anyone. And that makes me annoyed. Yes. I also don't want to have a passenger saying stuff to me.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. So, because as you said, I'm a very bad co-driver as well. I'm the worst passenger ever. And I really need to self-control to shut up. Really shut up. Yeah. And the last point from the pit stop, which I think it's very dear to my heart because it shows some immediate reactions. She said radio on. So What is your favorite tune for driving?
It depends. I mean, it's never the same thing. If I'm tired, it's classical or no music. Or sometimes I have a German music playlist. We are not talking about the German music playlist.
Why not? Let's speak about this. That's very interesting. Let's speak about that one.
Oh my gosh. No. I shouldn't have said
now here comes
anything.
a lesson in German entertainment. So,
I shouldn't have said
Max,
anything.
what's on your German playlist? You brought it up, sorry.
What is on my German? Okay, so one of my...
I would say Nena.
Who's that?
She sang 99 Luftballons, air balloons.
Oh, no. That's not my German.
Okay.
Mine is more like Schlager, a little bit of yodeling every now and then, or Monica Martin. So sometimes when I'm really alone in the car, that is what I will put on. And then that's why those are the kind of songs I have to skip when, I don't know, someone starts yodeling. When Margaret Elmer, I think that's her name, she starts yodeling and I'm like... Next song.
I love it.
That is my German music. Yep.
Very good. I mean, it's amazing, but it suits also the BMW, I would say. So that's okay.
I think so too.
So some Oktoberfest vibes in the car.
Exactly. October. I've never been, but I really want to go. Or sometimes
I go tomorrow.
there's.
Don't ask me about it.
Oh, fun. Have fun.
No, go ahead with the list.
I have my own playlist as well that I put on Instagram of like the songs that I would typically listen to. It's Puff FM. There's like PWUFM on Spotify.
You know who's following this now? I'm. Here we go.
Spotify. It's on Spotify.
Yes, I'm here. Perfect. A new follower.
Thank you. But you can see some of the songs in there. Sacrifice, Elton John, one of my favorite songs ever. And there's a little bit of ABBA in there. I love ABBA. Sade, that's like, ooh, Smooth Operator, Hang On To Your Love, Diana Ross, Chaka Khan, Hot Chocolate, Modern Talking. So Sarah Branigan, there's a mix of everything.
I love it. And with this, unfortunately, Max, we have to come to an end of our little podcast. Thank you very much for taking the time. And we're looking forward to more and more exciting videos.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much for having me, JP. I really appreciate it. It was really fun to talk about this. I could talk about this for hours, but it was really fun.
Max, the fun was all mine. It was absolutely stunning. Thank you very much. And I hope for those who tuned in, you enjoyed this as much as I did. And please support us by beating the algorithm. That means give us 5 stars, leave comments. And of course, please also share ideas of guests we should invite. And this you can do by just sending simply an email to the address bmwgroup-classic@shot-1.de. I repeat that. It's bmwgroup-classic@shot-1.de. Also, I would like to thank the whole team behind this podcast, which is Friederike von Königswald. She is our editor, and she takes care that I don't got carried away too much, and we have always a high quality content for you. And of course, making us sound right is the team Alex and Marcus from Scenario Studio in Munich. And the one who holds all the ends together is our producer, Robin Zeiser from Shot One. And one side note, finally, I hope I can say it right. Max, your Instagram handle is PuffTalksCars. Here we go.
Thank you.